Dr. Andrew Woods here. I just had an incredible experience being a guest on a podcast with Andrew E. Guy. I'm telling you something, this guy is producing some incredible podcasts. He asked some incredible questions, just loved it, loved to be a guest, and look forward to doing it more often.
It's the moment you've been waiting for. It's a conversation that must be had today and not tomorrow. Welcome to another episode of I'm Listening, I'm Ready with your host, Andrew E. Guy. Let's talk about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Andrew E. Guy. Welcome to another episode of the Ilirpodcast. I'm listening, I'm ready. It is a podcast that's dedicated for those who are on the go, whether you're traveling by land, air, or sea. This is me, Andrew E. Guy. Yeah, you know it is a time again when we just get ready to have these kind of conversations. There's special conversation. These are the conversation that needs to be had. These are the conversation that is disrupting your sense of normalcy. On the show, we bring individuals that are making a mark, not just on the planet, but they're leaving a scar, an indelible scar on the landmark of the hearts of humanity. One individual that I'm going to be speaking to today is, well, we both share something in common, and it's not just the name Andrew, but I'm talking about none other than Dr. Andrew Woods himself. Now, there's a whole lot to learn about this gentleman and the impact that he's having globally, not just in Canada, not just in the academic department, not just in entrepreneurship. He is moving everyone who wants to do something with their life. He is the author of the inspiring, the motivational, the book that is going to transform your life and your living. You just got to run, hop, skip, jump, and fly, whatever you got to do. Get out there and get you a copy of the Audacious Ask. I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to bring him onto the stage right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Ilirpodcast, Dr. Andrew Woods. Dr. Woods, say what's up to the people.
Well, I'll tell you something, man. That was a fantastic introduction. Love it. Love the energy. Really happy to be here, man.
Man, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. By the way, it's so good to meet another Andrew in the building. You hear me? Doc, there's so much to talk about today, but you know what? I want to give an opportunity for you to kind of tell the people a little bit more about you and just what you do. Why do they need to stay through the whole interview? And after that, click and go get your book. I need you to tell them, introduce yourself to them, let them feel you.
Sure. Entrepreneurship has been something that's been in my blood my whole life. When I was 8 years old, I had a paper route in a very cold part of Canada. I used to get up at 6 a.m. and deliver the newspapers. Then I figured out that other people had the routes I wanted. So I went out and I subcontracted all those routes. At 8 years old, figure this out. 8 years old. And I had a bunch of people delivering newspapers for me and paying me income on top of that. So I went from there. I had a catering business in Canada, got bored of Canada and decided I wanted to travel the world. That led me to 22 countries around the world, delivering soft skills training, mostly customer service training. I'm a chef by trade, put myself through an MBA and a doctorate, and now teach kind of for fun, as we mentioned earlier. Before the show, we were talking about it, and written a couple of books. And the most recent book is about entrepreneurship. It's a little bit about my own journey, but moreover, it's 8 of the world's leading entrepreneurs giving advice to people. And the key message is ask for things. Get out there and ask. Hustle and ask. Wayne Gretzky, a famous Canadian hero, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So it's encouraging people to get out there and ask for things. Audaciously, the Audacious Ask.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. We haven't started yet, but we have begun. You hear what I'm saying? We haven't started, but we have begun. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know right now off the top, if you need to go and transform your life so you can have the living that you haven't even asked for, I want you to get out there and get on Amazon and look up the book, The Audacious Ask. We're going to get right back into this conversation right now because there's much more you need to learn about this gentleman and what's behind the book. Now, I'm Dr. Woods. You know, you talked about asking. You know, my grandmother always talk about this scripture. He said, you know, ask and it shall be given. Ask and it shall be given. There is something about asking. Like, we got to first believe that we can actually have before we even begin to ask. Can you help us understand why most people refuse to ask? Why?
Yeah, fear of rejection, right? Everybody fears rejection. So I mentioned teaching. A lot of students were coming up to me, and I'm not even involved in the career services end of teaching, but you know, I'm just presenting the course material. They were coming up to me and they were saying, we keep applying for jobs, we can't get them. So I'm saying, okay, what are you doing? And they're saying, well, we're sending out our resumes to 100 people and no one's replying. Okay, so how are you differentiating yourself? Are you on the resume of the job you want? Are you stapling a Starbucks card and saying, go have a coffee, go enjoy your coffee, but read my resume and just give me a reply? Are you doing something or asking for something that differentiates you? So that kind of evolved into one class I was teaching in entrepreneurship. We were talking about the Shark Tank, ABC Shark Tank. And they were saying, well, you know, these guys come on and they pitch, well, it's all fair enough for them, but you know, it'd be great to hear from some of them. So I went on LinkedIn, I started writing to the contestants each Friday night. Most people are out having a good time. I'm at home watching Shark Tank. I'm writing to these people and I'm saying, hey, would you consider coming into my class and talking to students? So I'd show a clip from Shark Tank and then all of a sudden the real person would come on and explain the pitch. They're like, well, you can do that? And I said, well, you can ask for anything. What's the worst that can happen? If you ask for something, there's three things that can happen, right? They can accept your ask, they can decline your ask, or they can counteroffer. Accept, decline, counteroffer. Three things. Nothing worse is going to happen than that. If they decline, you might want to ask them why they're declining. That's another thing. You can ask and you can ask and you can ask. If it's not working for you, find out why it's not working for you. But definitely get out there and make as many asks as you can. Ask to meet people for coffee. Ask to meet experts in your field. You know, it just build your network. Everything is about networking, right? Building your network, whether it be online, as we met originally, or whether it be in person, now where everything's opened up post-COVID. Just get out and network and ask for things, ask for meetings, ask for appointments, ask for things, and you will get them.
God, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to me for the first time, this is Andrew E. Guy on the Ilirpodcast. I'm listening. I'm ready. I want you to just listen. But after that, I want you to take action. First, even if you didn't even get a chance to meet Dr. Woods, I want you to run out there. I want you to get a copy of the book. I want you to read the book, and I want you to apply the things that you learn from this Audacious Ask. And one of the things that stood out to me about the book, Dr. Woods, is that you got to be audacious. You got to be confident. You got to believe that what you're asking for is possible. Other than the reject that people are so fearful of, what other things, what other hurdles do you think that they have to climb that they feel that they may not be able to, I guess, overcome that cause them to not ask?
Just start slowly. Do simple asks. Ask a friend for something. Ask, to build up your confidence. I remember saying this to a group of students. I said, maybe ask me for something. So I love this one. Guy came up to me afterwards, and I almost did it. Guy came up to me afterwards, and he said, I need a car to run a business. I've priced out the setup here, and I can pay you back X amount each month. But you told me to ask, and I'm asking. Whoa. Obviously I didn't because of the school regulations. I can't be buying people cars, but at the same time, it was just a wonderful display of somebody taking it and running with it full throttle. I think people fear rejection. People fear the unknown. But once they get over those obstacles, fear is just something you overcome.
As I listened to you, you said that fear is something that we just overcome. I feel that most people don't understand that fear is a crippling force that will cause you to stay where you are. It will cause you to just stay, don't move, because you believe that this particular thing that is so detrimental to you unraveling another aspect of you and showing yourself another dimension of you. I don't want to really entertain that right now. Do you think people just really don't want to kind of see what's really underneath the hood of their thinking?
Yeah, I think certainly, Andrew. I mean, I think that human beings, we love comfort and we love familiarity. So anything that pushes us out of our comfort zone, there's people that, like everyone thinks when they see me, I do a lot of public speaking engagements. I do a lot of corporate training, get up in front of groups all the time. In the early days of doing that, I was scared to death, but
Really?
I realized that it didn't show. Someone actually told me, they said, it's only when you tell people that you're scared, 9 out of 10 times they're not going to notice. One guy told me not to hold a piece of paper, so I looked really cool, one of my first engagements, but I was holding a paper and shaking the whole time, But I think people are scared of the unknown. And once they get a little bit of practice under their belt, push it a little bit to the extreme, then they're able to go out. And I don't expect people to read the book and say, okay, now I'm going to send Joe Biden a note to meet me for coffee, or I don't expect people to be like going really audacious right away. But I think that it's just taking those baby steps, and then once you're ready to jump, you can jump right into it. But it's fear holds us all back, and it shouldn't.
Listen, if you're listening to me for the first time, listen to Andrew E. Guy and Dr. Andrew Woods. He's an entrepreneur. He's a speaker. He's a gentleman that is here to help you to understand that you're actually holding yourself back. And if you would just take that leap of what's the worst can happen? That leap of, hey, if I don't take the shot, then guess what? It's a shot I didn't make. If I don't jump, then guess what? I will never know how high I am up there already. So I want to just encourage you to get out of your comfort zone and be willing to be comfortable being uncomfortable. All right. So that's one of the message that I want you to get. Be willing to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Now,
Perfect.
in the green room, we were talking, Dr. Woods, and you quoted one of my favorite hockey player, Gretzky. And he said, Michael Jordan also said the same thing. He said, the shots that you don't take is the one you don't make, right? I play basketball also. I'm a point guard. That's my thing, right? And I also have some opportunity to coach other people. And I've seen youth, they're hesitant. They know that they can make the shot, but they're hesitant. The reason why I think that they're hesitant, because I've asked them, why are you hesitant? Another thing is they're afraid of disappointing other people.
Yeah.
So can you speak to that note about failure and not wanting to disappoint other people? What is it that causes us to say, I don't want to take a shot because I don't want to disappoint other people?
So let's turn this around to entrepreneurship, because that's kind of the focus of the book.
Yeah.
There's a great speaker. I don't know if you're familiar with him, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yes.
And he does some brilliant stuff, short videos, etc. I recommend people check him out. But he's been sending around, and I just read it today again, and he's very good at repeating the messages,
Right.
But he's been sending around something saying, if you're 30, if you're 20, and you fail, what does it matter? If you're 30 and you fail, what does it matter? If you're 40 and you fail, what does it matter? The way I look at it, if we turn it around to entrepreneurship, because it's what I'm passionate about, I would rather try something and fail and learn from it.
Yes.
That's one thing I'll tell you something. You learn from the failure. Not all the businesses I've run have been successful. Some of them have been colossal bombs. Right. Terrible. It's knowing when to get out. That's an art. Knowing when to get out, but also accepting and learning from the whole process. Yes. So I think people in when it comes to entrepreneurship, they're scared. they're scared of losing their comfort, and there's no comfort in 9-to-5 jobs anymore. You could walk in
No.
tomorrow morning and they could say, sorry, we don't like you anymore. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. And you get a little bit of VI or whatever it might be, wherever people are tuning in for, whatever your government support, if there is any. But, there's no security anymore. So if you've got something that you want or you desire, some product or something that you want to promote or a service, why not give it a shot? Because you don't want to be, 70, 80 years old. And I've seen people in this situation before. And I've
Right.
seen people even younger than that look back and they say, well, now I'm tied into this high mortgage or, now, and I just can't do what I wanted to do. But what if? And you don't want a what if. What's much better is I tried it, it didn't work. And you either try it again or try something different and learn from it, or you just go back to the 9-to-5, but you hold your head up high because you've tried what you want to try. No, I
Right.
understand entrepreneurship isn't for everyone. I get it. But at the same time, those that do have the desire, just get a great group of people around you. That's key as well, the support
Right.
of the people around you.
Right.
You don't need to fear failure. You're not a failure. I think you're more of a failure if you've got a burning desire to do something and you don't do it than if you do it and it doesn't work. You fall flat on your face and you say, hey, I tried.
God.
That's my thinking.
That's so amazing. Just when you say, don't be afraid to try.
Mm,
When we talk about don't be afraid to try, fear can show up in so many different ways, Dr. Woods. Like people will say, I'm afraid to try. I'm afraid to take the shot. I'm afraid to disappoint that person. I'm too old. I'm afraid because I may not have the capability. I'm afraid. But you see how we personalize this fear and
mm,
make it our thing? No, I'm afraid of that, but I'm not afraid of that. He can do that. That's not my thing. So we're now personalizing this fear and we have our own niche of fear. And so what we need to understand is just fear. That's the foundation. We just put a different label on top to make sure that comfort zone that we're living under. Now, what would you say if a person try and fail and they thinking though, well, I want to go back to a 95. I want to go back to safely. What advice would you have for those individuals who have tried and failed and then say, I'm going back to what I know?
great. Do what works for you.
Right.
There's two sides. The entrepreneurs that would say, oh, that must be terrible to have to go back and do that. And then there's the 9-to-5 guys that say, oh, it must be terrible to go off and run your own business. You can't please everyone. You do
Right.
what's right for you.
Right.
So if you've tried it and it hasn't worked, there's zero shame in going back to a 9-to-5 job. I mean, most people have 9-to-5 jobs and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if your path is the path of entrepreneurship, then you need to persevere. And I think we spoke of Shark Tank earlier. It was Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary,
Yes.
always says, know when to take the idea out the back and shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a really good entrepreneur or a thinking person understands. Hey, this isn't working because I've tried it for X amount of time. And if you keep getting people telling you that's a bad idea,
Mm-hmm.
but then you look in history, you look at people like the guy who invented KFC, hundreds of times the guy went to the bank. He was in his 60s or 70s, went to the bank asking for loans. It got rejected, kept going. And what is that now? It's one of the biggest chains in the world. Honda was the same thing, got rejected in Japan numerous times. I think that people worry too much about what other people think and you just need to worry about what you think, what your family thinks. That's it. Forget about all the other ones.
Oh gosh, that is so brilliant, Dr. Woods. That is so brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, if you listen to me for the first time, this is Andrew E. Guy on the Ilirpodcast. I'm talking to the one, the only, the man himself, Dr. Andrew Woods, the author of the Audacious Ask. He is dropping nuggets, he's dropping dimes, he's dropping everything that can change your life. I want you to not just listen, I want you to take action. I want you to get out there, grab the book, find out, start digging, start unraveling those things that are on the inside of you that is calling you. It's calling you. You feel uncomfortable, but you don't know exactly where to turn. Now, Dr. Woods, when I say that, what advice can you give to those people that want to? They have that itch and they want to scratch it, but where do I begin? How do you help those individuals?
A couple of things. Back to the ask, get on a platform like LinkedIn and reach out to all the people in a similar field to where you want to go. So reach out to them and ask, can I have 15 minutes of your time? Can I ask you a few questions? And then get decent people around you.
Yes.
Get a good group of people around you, whether they be people who are just advising you. I get advice from people all the time because
Right.
I know, and I learned this a long time ago, it's not that I don't know anything. I don't know much at all.
Right.
So when it comes to running business, you know, I'm weak in accounts. I get people to help me with that. I'm weak in, you know, I'm strong in marketing, but at the same time, there's new things that I'm open to. Just get people around you that believe in you and want to help you, and always be willing to help them back. You know, a lot of people will be on your sort of board of advisors, if you will. A lot of people will be there for you, but you must reciprocate. You must give back. So maybe your strength is one thing and another person's strength is another. Work together on that. Find a good partner. Find someone you trust. Get your family to buy in. If your family buys in, that's a big thing right there. You know, you don't want a partner say, you know, a partner or a family member saying, "Oh, that'll never work. I'm not behind that. I don't support that." You want someone that supports because you need that support. Entrepreneurship, you know, the media does this wonderful thing about making entrepreneurship look so incredible and
Right.
everybody's getting off jets, and they don't show you when you're in bed with heart palpitations because you can't pay people. And, you know, they don't show that stuff. The ability to, freedom for me is the ability to have time off when I want time off, to decide my own course, my own, you know, do I want to teach this course or do I not want to teach this course? Do I want to work with that client or do I not want to work with that client? You know, that's entrepreneurship for me. It's the freedom to choose my destiny.
Wow. You know, when you talk about entrepreneurship, it really is getting out of the passenger side and decide I'm going to be a driver here.
Oh, for sure.
But a lot
Great
of
analogy.
people need to understand that there's going to be some potholes in the road, even though you're in the same car, Dr. Woods. You know, it's the same ride. You're in the same car, but the ride experience is different for the two individuals that are in the front of the car. The passenger ride is different from the driver ride because he's going to
Now
feel
who's
the
dropping the
bumps.
nuggets? Now who's
God.
dropping the Now who's dropping the valuable nuggets?
Yes, sir. Yeah, and I feel that. I sense that because we could be in the same car, but you know, I don't want to be a passenger anymore. I want to be in the driver's seat. But you are actually going to feel the bumps differently than the passenger themselves. Passenger, like, oh yeah, that's just supposed to be there. You will feel the bump, and you have to actually navigate your way to make sure that you stay on course. So you're concerned about more things. So can you speak to those individuals who want to become entrepreneurs and they've been in the passenger seat and now they're thinking about going in the driver's seat and they're wondering, well, do I have enough to actually jump and sit behind the seat? What do you say to those people, Dr. Woods?
If you've got an idea and you're willing to work hard and you're willing to surround yourself with decent people, you'll be successful. You'll be successful. So go for it. So stop, get that 4-letter word out of your mind. You know, fear is, you know, get rid of it. Just give it a shot. Go for it. What's the worst that can happen? You know, 3 months, 6 months, things don't work out. You lose a little bit of money, then you go back to another job, or, you know, or maybe you retweak it and find a new way of doing it, and then it works.
You know, it's the recurring theme. There is a story about the guy who invented 7-Up. He said there was another gentleman before him, and he said he went for 1-Up, and everybody said, "Get out of here." Went for 2-Up. It's like, please don't let me slap you. All right, I'm paraphrasing now. And he went for 3-Up and 4-Up, and then 5-Up, and then 6-Up. Get out of here with that! And he threw in the towel. And you know, one of my favorite speakers of all time, Zig Ziglar, bless your heart. He said, if he only know how close he was.
Yeah.
He gave up, and then somebody picked it up and came up with 7-Up. He's still drinking 7-Up today.
Yeah.
He gave up 6 times, only if he knew how close he was. I want to say to all of you that are out there, you are this close. You are this close from your 7-Up. Keep going. Be audacious in your ask. If it's entrepreneurship that's calling you, hey, answer the phone. Pick up the phone and say, "What's up?" Get out there and make that move. Dr. Wood, you said something that was so profound. You said, know your strength. You said, give it a shot. I want to take the it out of that And I want to put me there. Give
Yeah, cool.
me a shot. So what Dr. Woods is saying, instead of saying giving it, put a name to the it. Take the it out of there. It's an inanimate thing. Give me a shot. Tell yourself you're giving yourself a shot. And that's kind of what I want you guys to get. That's the second thing that I want you to get out of this interview here. Dr. Woods, has there ever been a time when you just kind of just tried something, it didn't work, and bam, it failed? And how did you bounce back from that from a resiliency perspective?
There's been dozens of times when I've tried things that have failed. Once or twice I've been too stubborn about it and held on to them too long. At one point I was running a very successful training company and I decided to open another business alongside it because I saw an opportunity. The margins were terrible. I believed in it too much. Maybe I let it go a little too long before I pulled the plug on it. So umpteen times I've made mistakes. I make mistakes to this day regularly, but I learn from them. I do a little self-audit every now and then and say, where am I making mistakes? And the list is endless. And I just try and correct them, slowly correct them, you know? And I get feedback from other people. I ask other people constantly, where am I going wrong? What do I do wrong? What, you know, just today, I asked someone to review my LinkedIn profile and tell me what I was doing wrong. And they gave me some advice. Now, this person's been doing it for a long time. I made a few changes and you know, that might work, that might not work, but just be open to correcting. And, you know, nobody has all the answers. You got to learn from the right people. You look at the successful people in this world, and it depends how you quantify success. But if you look at what society views as successful people, they've always got great people around them. They pick great people around them. Sometimes weak leaders can have amazing people around them and they can propel them. You know, you need that. It's the old cliche, you know, the smartest person in the room, and you're not the smartest person in the room. You know, just get people around you because you don't know everything. And once you realize that, and you know, it takes time sometimes ego gets in the way. Once you realize that, you're on to a winner.
So we're back, ladies and gentlemen. I am excited. We're continuing this conversation with Dr. Andrew Wood. We're talking about the Audacious Ask, and we're talking about there's some amazing tips for your life as an entrepreneur, and he's dropping some gems, and he's helping you to understand that it begins with the ask, but you also have to make sure that you understand that you are assessing yourself. And we just want to break that down a little bit, find out what does it mean to assess your skills, your strengths, and all the things, your idiosyncrasies and your thought patterns. What is working, what's not working? And as he said before, someone else quoted that, just take it out back. And, you know, O'Leary said, just take it out back and shoot it, right? What are those things that we have to take out back and just discard of it, right? So that's what we're going to talk about now to help you to understand, because by the interview is over, I want you to be able to understand you have an ask inside of you, and you got to get that ask out. That's the only way people are going to know that you need something, is to get that ask out. Once you get your ask out, then what you need to be prepared for is whatever is coming, the results of what's coming, and what changes you have to make to get out of that comfort zone. So, Dr. Woods, you talked about, you know, this assessing ourselves, understanding what our skill set is. How does one begin to assess themselves to find out what their strengths are, weaknesses, and what they need to change? Because you talked about asking someone to review your LinkedIn profile, that you always check in to find out what needs to be changed or tuned up. How do one tap into that?
I think what I like to do, and it's this is the teacher in me, is a SWOT analysis on myself. So SWOT, you know, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So I constantly am looking at what my weaknesses are, and then I'm reassessing what my strengths are, and maybe my strengths can often be my weakness. So, but I like to get other people involved, and people are reluctant sometimes, but I like to get people who've known me for a long time or are close to me or work with me, and ask them, what can I do better? Now, this is challenging if you're actually employing these people, or you're like, you know, in a training business, I'm contracting them, they're getting paid by my company. So maybe they're a little less willing to tell me the things they don't like. My wife is delighted to tell me all the things that I do wrong. You know, I just constantly constantly reevaluating and looking at my strengths and weaknesses and trying to improve. I like to read a lot. I don't have time for a lot of junk. I often take books and I'll read a few pages of them and decide that that's going nowhere. Library is a great resource for that. I like to constantly be trying to improve, learning new skills. Just last week, I had a call with someone in China, and I had to go back, and I lived in China for a few years, and I had to go back and just relearn some of the basics of the language because I used to speak it not very well, but but just constantly improving, having business skills. And also, one of the dangers I think in entrepreneurship is it becomes your life, and you can let it overtake your life to the point where you stop enjoying other things. You need to be able to, and I've been guilty of this, you need to be able to switch off and enjoy things, go hiking. Or I used to play a lot of guitar, and recently I started picking it up again, just constantly trying to improve. The Japanese have a wonderful expression, which is kaizen, which is continuous improvement, always looking at ways to improve yourself, your business, your marriage, your relationships, your friendships, just trying to get better. And I like to just review that on a regular basis. Where am I letting myself down?
That is so powerful. Where am I letting myself
And
down?
others. Even
And
more
others.
important, where am I letting others down?
And the next part to that, like, where can I lift myself up?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we will look at it from a negative point of view and say, oh, well, I'm letting myself down. I'm not good enough. I'm not. But where are you good at? What area in your life that are just, wow, people just envy you for that, And you mentioned about going to do business in China. That's one place I want to go visit. I want to go because I've taught kids who are from the Orient and they're from China. One of the things that they say is that lehoma. Am I saying that right? Lehoma or neho? No.
Ni hao, you got that right.
So
That's
it's
hello.
neho. So it's so when they say lehoma, which one is that? Which expression is that?
I think you got the pronunciation wrong, so I'm not quite sure what you're saying. But let me give you an example that you might
Please.
appreciate. Mandarin's a tonal language.
Okay.
So you can just make the slightest change in tone and it can completely change the meaning. So
Wow.
I was doing a Chinese lesson in China when I was living there, and my wife, who's from China, her father, who doesn't speak any English, heard me on the phone saying "wo shi wan wo de qieze," which means I meant to say, I'm getting it wrong possibly, but I meant to say shiedze, which is shoes, but I said shiedze, which is eggplant or aubergine. So I couldn't figure out why the next day for lunch we had 3 different dishes and they all contained eggplant, aubergine. And then for lunch, for dinner, we had again 3. And I said, what's going on? Is this like on sale or something? No, my father heard you saying on the phone how much you liked eggplant. So you can just, and it's so difficult, I mean, I just mentioned that I play guitar, but I seem to be tone deaf because I make a lot of mistakes in the language, and you can just completely, it's such a difficult language for me anyway, and I put a lot of effort into it. But it's just the slightest change of tone, and then takes you out of context.
So why do you say thank you? Is it the shishe? Am I saying that right?
Shay. And I think you might have been saying ni hao ma, which is like how are you, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm completely off. So it's ni hao?
Ni hao is hello.
Okay.
Keeping in mind I've been gone for a while, but when I was there, it was terrible. Like I would study for, like it's interesting because I read somewhere they have this CIA has some formula of how long it takes to learn certain languages. I guess for operatives they put in different countries, and Mandarin is like 3 times the amount of effort to learn Mandarin as it is to learn French or Chinese. I lived in Italy for a while, and I tell you something. Within 3 months of living there, I was basically getting by quite well, self-taught. But in China it was a struggle, man. It was years of struggling, and I'd just give up every now and then I'd say no, just like entrepreneurship, right? I'd say no, I've got to stay here. And then when COVID came around, I left and had expected to come back, but they shut down completely, so I didn't go back. But I have a lot of people, and we're going a little off topic, but a lot of people, there's a big difference between governments and people. The people in China were just amazing. I love them to bits. Very hardworking, very entrepreneurial people. Great experience.
Yeah, I love the arts because I've been in martial arts for a little while too, and that's why I got caught up in all of it. And I love it. Love what they do. You mentioned Italy. I know we definitely off subject, but you mentioned Italy. I do have a couple of friends who are from there, but the thing that I get confused on is the buonanito versus buongiorno, right? So
Okay.
so I say buongiorno because I'm comfortable saying that. So I say, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
it
fine.
could it's big day anytime. Buongiorno, come stai? I say
Yeah.
molto bene, right?
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you something, I don't remember much now, but this was about 20 years ago, but I remember it's burnt in my head. In Fondo la
Mhm.
Scala la prima porta alla destra. So where I was bartending, it's a young
Yes.
man bartending, and the pub was very close to a museum, and people would come in because the museum didn't have a toilet, so they would always say dove il bagno, and I would say in Fondo la Scala la prima porta alla destra, which is down the stairs, first door, but it's amazing what you remember from language.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm telling you, Dr. Woods, I completely respect your time. I mean, but I am so grateful for the opportunity here to kind of sit down and break intellectual bread with you. I am looking forward to having another conversation and hopefully get a chance to meet you in person.
Definitely.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic, this conversation here. Is there any advice that you would want to give an individual who, we already talked about it, want to become an entrepreneur? We've already discussed that part. But is there something that you feel that you'd want to share with a group of individuals who are thirsty, hungry for change that they've been putting off for far too long? What would you say to those individuals?
Today's the day. Today's the
That's it.
day. Seize
Mhm.
the moment.
That's it.
Seize the moment. Do it
Mhm.
now. What's
Today.
stopping you? What's stopping you? Or at least write down on a piece of paper right after this show.
Mhm.
I want to, within X amount of days, achieve this. I'm going to put together a business plan or a lean canvas, and if I don't know what that is, I'm going to look it up. I'm going to start putting in the steps to what I want to do. And you don't have to jump all the way in. It's one point I didn't cover. So many people now have side hustles. A lot of us have to. But so many people have side hustles where they're driving an Uber, or they're delivering things, or they're, making something and making t-shirts and putting them on Amazon. There's so many ways that you can but I guess it's also finding something that someone said once to me, and it's an old cliche that you've probably heard many times. It's find something you love doing and then get paid, hopefully well, to do it.
Mhm.
If you love your work, man, it's an investment in yourself.
God have mercy.
It's an investment in yourself. And you don't mind if you run your own business and you love it and you're working 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, but you love it.
Mhm.
It's your life. It becomes your life, becomes your passion. Then that's a lot better than, I mean, can you imagine working somewhere 50 hours a week and just every day saying, when's Friday coming? And I've been there. I've been there. And that's the other thing, as you mentioned before, I've been in entrepreneurship and then have to take a job and then gone back into entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
We were talking about it earlier. Take a
Yes.
proper 9 to 5 job, if you will. There's no shame in that. Do what works for you, but don't be the guy at the end of your life. You have one life. In fact, that's one of the quotes in the book. When are you going to start living your one life?
Yes.
You have one life. So go out and do something that makes you happy, and hopefully you can sustain and make an income out of it. A lot of people obsess about income, and they think, well, if I have $1 million, I'm going to be happy. If I have $10 million, I'm going to be happy. Happiness comes from within. Sure, it
Mhm.
comes from what's around you as well, but it comes from within. Money's not going to change that,
Mhm.
but loving what you're doing. And you can really respect yourself. If you run a small little business and you're doing well and you're enjoying it, you can respect yourself just as you can respect yourself if you own a big multinational company. But you got to take that chance if that's how you feel. If you love your 9 to 5 job and you're into it, then you're in the right place.
Right.
Don't change anything.
Wow.
Keep developing, keep learning.
Yes.
You don't need to change anything. But if you're not happy doing what you're doing and you have some hobby, some skill, something that you believe can benefit humanity, then just go out and do it.
Yeah. I'm telling you, this interview is so full, it's so rich, and when I travel and speak, I talk about enrichment, work-life enrichment. It's not balance, it's an enrichment because it's about life is just a sandwich. Everybody want something on their sandwich. It could be lettuce. Some people want tomato. Some people don't even want tomatoes. They want ketchup. Some want it's that enrichment part of it. And what we're
Got it.
talking to you about today is to help you to be enriched. Like if you're doing something that you know something else is calling you, gnawing at you, that you just want to try, give it a shot. Dr. Wood says today is the day. Take the shot. You don't even know if you're going to miss anyhow. You might make it. Take the shot, right? Give not it, but give me, which is the you. Look in the mirror and say, I'm going to give me a shot. If you don't get anything from this interview, from this breaking of bread, intellectual breaking of bread, say, I'm going to give me a shot for once. Not which day, this one day. Dr. Woods, where can they find you? If they need to look you up, they need to get information, where can they find you if somebody want to plug in and get some information and want to work with you? Where can they find you?
Sure, they can find me on just go to LinkedIn, type in my name, and you'll bang, it'll pop right up there. And you know, tell me where you came across me, and tell me about this interview, and let's talk. Write me a message. Ask.
That's fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Andrew E. Guy alongside Dr. Andrew Woods, the author of The Audacious Ask. I want to encourage you to go out and get yourself a copy of that book. I'm excited about what is going to happen when you watch this interview. I don't want it to be just another interview that you watch or some entrepreneur guy talking about, but there is meaning, there is meat in this interview. There are nuggets and gems that if you go back and listen to it, leave some comment, let us know how this really moved you and how you're going to take the steps moving forward to transform your life to make it the living that you want to get up to again and again and again. Until next time, we're looking forward to hearing from you. Take care of yourself. We say peace.